Harper Audio presents A House in St. John's Wood by Matthew Spender, read by Laurence Kennedy. Natasha's Last Wishes. My mother died on the 21st of October 2010, at 11 in the morning, in her bedroom on the top floor of 15 Loudon Road, the rented house in St. John's Wood, where she'd lived for the previous 69 years. I heard the news on my cell phone, driving along a back road in Tuscany. I rushed home, collected my passport, and flew to London, where I arrived at about 7 in the evening. The house had been neglected since my father's death in 1995. A large crack ran down the external wall to the right of the front door. Squirrels nested in the roof next to the water tank, and they'd reopen their hole every time we patched it up. I'd offered to make major repairs on condition that I'd be reimbursed after her death, but the lawyer told me it won't happen. Buy her an umbrella. Downstairs, in my father's study, my mother's attempt to organize his papers had replaced the creative untidiness of work in progress with the sepulchral untidiness of boxes ready to be taken to an archive. In the music room, her Steinway was shrouded, and the scores were shelved. In her last years, she'd actually forgotten how to play. The back door from the kitchen to the garden, squeezed by subsidence, had been planed so many times to make it fit the frame that it was no longer a rectangle. The house was a tomb, long before her death added an aura of absence to the surreptitious creak of decay. Her live-in minder had packed a rucksack and was waiting with her boyfriend in the hall. As I kissed her cheek, I smelled the excitement of a witness who'd seen someone die. I wondered if the experience was as thrilling as observing a birth. My wife was waiting for me in the piano room. We phoned for an undertaker. Then I went upstairs to say my goodbyes. I took a sketchpad with me to make some drawings of my mother as she lay there. I'd done the same with my father, and it had been a fascinating experience, but this time it didn't work. The drawings came out angrier and angrier. Was this my feeling or hers? She herself just looked exhausted. The anger was in the drawings. By her bedside lamp lay a curl of papers. In a desultory way I straightened them out. They were documents designed to exclude me from my father's literary inheritance. A covering letter showed that she'd arranged to sign these in front of the lawyer a few days later. She'd been talking about this for years, and I'd always told her she should do whatever she thought best. Would she, or wouldn't she? There was an element of sadism in my detachment. In the background lay a battlefield. She knew I disagreed with her interpretation of my father's life. To her, he'd always been a pillar of integrity, and anyone who questioned this was despicable. I agreed about his integrity, but everything else about my father's life made me want to qualify her pure idea of him with the confusion of reality. I'd always expected her to change her mind about cutting me off, but here we were. Dutifully, I took the documents to the lawyer the following day. Were we obliged to honour her wishes? The lawyer flipped through the papers and asked, "Where's the signature?" I said that she'd planned to sign them in his presence. Let's see, tomorrow afternoon. "A lot of old ladies leave things just a bit too late," he said, and casually he dropped them in the trash. All other aspects of her will were fine. She'd left everything to my sister Lizzie and myself. She hadn't created a foundation dedicated to protecting her husband from my interpretation of his life. The lawyer added soothingly that, as we were our parents' sole heirs, the literary executorship was of minor importance, so I calmed down. It took us 10 days to organize the funeral. Lizzie had just flown from London to Sydney, and she needed time to recover before she'd fly back. While I waited, I sat alone in the piano room, listening to the shuffling of the masonry. I looked through the boxes next door, but they contained nothing that interested me.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?